Hi, everyone. We have a super cool episode for you today, and I just wanted to do a short intro before we get started. My oncologist, Dr. Sofia Merajver, is joining us today. I just wanted to, here's her bio. Dr. Sofia Merajver received a doctoral degree in physics from the University of Maryland and a medical degree from the University of Michigan. She completed a residency in internal medicine and a fellowship in oncology at the University of Michigan before joining the faculty in 1994. Dr. Merajver, an expert in breast cancer genetics, is the medical director of the breast cancer and ovarian cancer risk evaluation program at U of M Rogel Cancer Center. Her research includes the molecular genetics of breast cancer, gene function, and cancer risk assessment. You guys, take a listen to this if you're in need of some hope, if you just want to hear some reassurance that there is progress being made and good things are happening. Can't wait for you to meet Dr. Merajver.
Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here. And we are so excited that our favorite guest is with us today. So, Dr. Merajver, I'm going to do a little intro prior to this and kind of read all of your accolades. But for everybody who's watching and listening, this is my oncologist, Dr. Sofia Merajver. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody.
Can you believe it's been 25 years?
No, you must be wrong in the math. I'm going to have to check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's hard to believe. It's very, very hard to believe that half a lifetime or some portion of a lifetime has gone by, and yeah.
I've realized that I've actually lived with cancer longer than I can remember not living with cancer, right? So
that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So
especially the way things were at the time you were diagnosed,
yeah,
it's really a real tribute to what you have done, what your family has done together,
and what you've done with us and for us. So,
well, I think oncologists would be the ones who appreciate that the most because, us being newbies back then when she was diagnosed and coming in, that was our norm. And then, once you get into this, not the acute treatment, but beyond that, we don't stay up on everything that's going on different. We hear things and obviously go along with that, but you see the whole scope of the changes that have been made in treating metastatic cancer. Can appreciate it.
Yeah, and I have to say that your case is we hope is more common, and it still is painfully uncommon, but more common than it used to be. And so,
can you attribute that to one thing?
The fact that it's getting more common now. To be having more treatments available in series, people able to go to the next treatment and stay for many years on a particular treatment before it shows true signs of progression. But as you have experienced, one of the challenges of people living with metastatic cancer of all different types is that it is very hard for the doctors and the patients to know when there is true progression and when are we just jumping the gun and just super nervous about every eyelash that falls, and in how to react. And that is something that I distinctly recall walking around the hallways, waiting for experiments to be done and thinking about you, thinking about Heather, thinking about Larry, thinking about Sydney, thinking about your family. And what can I do? How do I come up with the next thing to do? If things fail, what am I going to be prepared to do? I remember that. I remember, passing by somebody in the hallway who didn't look like they were too much in a hurry and saying, "Can I ask you a question? I have this patient." so, there was no stone unturned. And I think I told you many times when you came to see me, I'm going to this meeting, I'm going to talk to people
Yeah.
about you. I
Yeah.
have said that probably more than once. And I did talk to people about you.
Right.
Harvard, everywhere, it didn't matter. But, like the community is so wonderful and so united in being so focused on helping patients. Didn't always, it didn't used to be like that all the time. Patients sometimes were in a separate corner, the old-fashioned way. But as you know, I didn't like that. So I was never like that.
Right. Well, and the fact that you imparted those words to me, that you said, there are treatments, we're considering other treatments. I remember you telling me that we're going to keep Herceptin in our back pocket. Like, the fact that you conveyed those words to me gave me so much hope, right? The fact that I knew that you were that's how I kind of think about it, as tucking away treatments in a pocket somewhere to pull them out if need be. And I think probably most oncologists are doing that, but you have such an amazing way of conveying that. And it's just, again, those sound bites that I held on to and still hang on to, so.
Yeah, well, you taught me that, you taught me that it was worth spending the time thinking it through. That's what I do, that's my superpower. I overthink everything, and so you taught me that, I think the most impact I got the feedback was from you, because you were kind and your family was so kind always to mention those things to me. And so I listened, and it taught me how to talk to other people. I was still developing my style and I always knew I wanted to talk to my patients the way I would talk to my family. I already knew that.
Yes.
I was taught in medical school to be careful with not getting too close to patients, especially in cancer, because you are going to burn out, you're going to do that. And then I saw myself burning out if I kept the distance.
Yes.
Because that would just drive me nuts. And then I would spend all that energy overcoming, going nuts because I was so distant. So I just thought I leave everything on the table. And what happens. I will embrace my patients and will talk to them as if they were my family, and will fight for them as if they were my family. Because, medicine is too hard. I wasn't going to go into medicine. I already had a career. I could have just done research in my lab the rest of my life, and I would have been, a reasonably happy camper. But I wanted this relationship. I wanted to know that I mattered in people's lives in some way that was meaningful. And so, you taught me all this. You changed many things, and you changed many things the way my colleagues approach then patients like you, because we didn't have, I know I'm not revealing any secrets. I mean, at the time you started surviving, way beyond your theoretical expiration date, right? It's just,
I do want to say that was never conveyed to us in even a suggestion. Right. From the whole University of Michigan, from you on down, that thought was never conveyed to us. It was never even put into after we got there. And I'll be honest, we kind of came in to the University of Michigan and met you with the thought that there's 50 Heathers walking around the halls there, and everybody's doing this. And to hear you say like that she was kind of unusual in that, that was not our thought.
Well, I think it was because of the confidence in which you and the university takes on cases. So that then again transfers over to the patient, where I had just spent a week being told that I was such an anomaly, that this would never happen, that this never, and failing every test, right? And then And then I get to you and it's like, come on in. And I see how cancer works, and we're going to, it doesn't mean I have all the answers, but it means we're going to figure this out to the best of our ability. And what a huge relief that is compared to other approaches, other places.
Yeah. That was at that time. At that time, it was critical to have that approach, and I would have it today. But I would do nothing different today.
Yeah.
And I would do nothing more or less. I mean, I would do exactly the same today.
Yeah.
And as a young physician, relatively young specialist, because I was board certified in internal medicine, but I was a young oncologist, and so I hadn't seen. I had one other patient, I believe, younger than you, but you were otherwise the second youngest or the third youngest I had seen, certainly with metastasis. So it was absolutely what I studied and what I've been thinking about. And then you came along and you taught me, and your family, your love, your dedication, everything, you taught me how it's done. And then I was able to, I was able to use that, and from that point forward, I don't know if you remember my saying this to you, but I adopted a way to say to the family when the whole family was in the room and everybody distressed, as you have very well described in your podcast. It's just your life changed completely, and your piano falls on your head, and here is mom and dad and their 38-year-old daughter with two young children with metastatic cancer. And they're sitting there. And I remember I adopted this way of saying, you guys are going to do 85% of it, and I'll do the 15%. Okay. It's an important 15%, but I'll deliver that. But you need to do 85%, because I realized from you, Heather and Larry, and their family and your friends and your dedication, that's what carried you through. So I started talking to people like that, but I hadn't thought of talking to people like that before you.
That makes me so happy, because there's nothing that I want more than to be able to impact other women and families in this. So to think that we are even, partnering in that in different ways, you in your office and when you meet patients, and me, by doing this work, nothing makes me happier than that.
Yeah.
It leads me into one of my questions, because so many people shop for oncologists. They get second opinions and they find something that fits, and that's fine. Yeah. What if we reverse that? Because there are people listening to this that are patients or that know somebody. What's the ideal patient? Yeah. Let's hear from your side, because it's always the other way. No, seriously. I mean, just in general, what attributes make an ideal patient?
So, there is no ideal patient, because because that's the training. What I teach is, cancer is the great equalizer. Persons that you would go bowling with and have dinner with and hang out with will get cancer, and persons you don't even want to talk to in the hallway, or if you meet them, at a party, you're not going to have a 5-minute conversation with. They'll get cancer too, and they'll trust you to cure them, and to at least try. And so that's what I teach. So it should be absolutely no difference to you. And you should leave everything on the table in both cases. And if not, don't go into medicine, certainly not into cancer medicine. Cancer medicine, of course I'm biased, right? But I think it's different. Yeah. I think it's, as I told you many times, hey, it's not the common cold. So, when you give the most toxic drugs in the planet to young people, to people who still want to have children, to people who want to have a life, to have 40 years or 50 years ahead of them, and you have to give them those years back because cancer is going to take them away. It's a different kind of specialty. It just you are there for the long haul. You have to believe that every patient is going to outlive you, and that's your job. And that's what I teach. So there is no ideal patient, but it's easier.
I didn't mean ideal. I meant I guess.
What do you like to see? What if somebody comes to you?
Well, yeah. People who really, who really trust science, because not everybody can be a scientist. God knows I wouldn't know how to coach a football team or how to do physical therapy on somebody who I wouldn't know the first thing about any of that. And I would, so I respect you guys in your professions tremendously. So if you trust science and you think you are with a rational doctor who explains things to you and you have the emotional connection, then that makes my job easier, because what I will do for you is going to be based on you as a whole person, from a scientific, emotional, intellectual, family, transportation. I will take everything into account. I won't come up with some therapy that you are never going to do because you already told me I don't want this, or I can do. Now, when people start being too selective, it's very difficult. I see patients who say, well, I don't really want surgery. Okay. So this is the data we have. We have the data that surgery in your case would be, well, I don't want surgery. Okay, but it isn't the Chinese restaurant with the menu columns, right? I would love for medicine to be that, but things are not equivalent. Right. I can come up with a treatment for anyone if they want to be treated at all. I can come up with it, but will it be as good as I could do? Probably not. Right. If they start blocking a lot of doors. So that is easier because it bothers me and I suffer emotionally at the thought that I'm doing lesser treatment. But I've been pretty effective at persuading people by rationally explaining things to them. Yes. Not all the time, but I hardly remember many cases where the patient and the family didn't say, we get it. Let's see how it goes. We'll go with you. Yeah. And people shop, you're right. And they shop the name, and should I go to Mayo? Well, Rochester, Minnesota. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it, So yeah, go, but that's fine. You're probably gonna get a biopsy or surgery before you leave. But, this is totally fine. It's a great institution. The last thing you'll find me doing is throwing dirt on anyone else. And I encourage second opinions. Absolutely. And you guys have gone to Mayo, and you've taught me.
Not for oncology, we haven't.
Not for oncology. No, I know. But you've taught me, and I was curious. And I try to. I'm a constant learner. Sure. I have to be. I owe this to my patients. I have to learn something every day, more than one thing, many things. If I don't learn something every single day, Monday through Sunday, there are no weekends for me. I get up at 4 in the morning and I start learning about cancer at 4 in the morning. This is what I do. I was already emailing today by 5 people that are annoyed.
Your dedication is astounding.
Well, it's what it takes. It's difficult.
So can you talk a little bit about some things that excite you that are coming?
I am so excited. Yeah, I'm so excited about what we are doing. I'll tell you what we are doing, and I'm just so happy. People can get biopsies now of metastatic lesions that are progressing, and we are able in our laboratory to test the drugs ahead of time, ahead of them getting the drug. Wow. And we can, in the little piece of tissue that we get, we can put it in special dishes that we developed over a period of 7 years. We've been working on this for 7 years. And we are in a position now having many samples. We have over 300 now. And we have a paper now that is almost going to be, I think, in press in a couple of days in bladder cancer. We have several papers on brain metastasis, and we are working on lung cancer. And of course, we started everything in breast cancer. And we are able to, in situations where they would be guessing anyway, the doctor and the patient will be guessing on what to do next, patients progressing, we are able to provide that information. and we are developing understanding. Yeah. So now, in the next year or so, we are going to be certified to return those results. It's still under research, but we believe the results are very accurate. And now we are gathering information about how exactly accurate. But for example, what we call the negative predictive value, that is, if we say your tumor is resistant to this drug, we are 100% right so far.
Wow.
And if the patient went on to get that drug, they didn't respond. And then they had to switch again.
Yeah.
So on all the cases that we know, which is now over 50, so that's very rare to be so accurate in the negative. Now, the positive is harder because people have several options and they may or may not go on the options that for us were the top. So, but so we are able to very sadly, and we are getting patients coming to Michigan with lung cancer, for example, which is incredibly difficult to treat in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases. And they are coming from all over and wanting to come to Michigan because basically we have this and they can't find it anywhere else.
That's
so yeah, so we are very much focused on this. And what is all due to generous people who decided, I'm going to support your work. I would like that to happen. I was talking to people 10, 15 years ago, I want to do this. And they like, okay, well, what will it take?
Yeah.
And I told them, and they came through. Different people have come through and supported this. This is the people of Michigan have supported this work. It wasn't the government, it wasn't drug companies, it was people.
Okay, so one of my questions that I did have is, somebody wants to support / donate / that kind of thing to get the most bang for their buck in cancer studies. What do you recommend specifically?
Yeah, just donate money to organizations. Well, it all depends what your passion is and your legacy.
Let's say there's not a specific passion. They just want their money to go.
Right.
How do they get it to you, to somebody?
So I was gonna say, if somebody wants to change the future for their children and grandchildren, and if they don't have children, for everyone else in humanity, you need to support science, because it's only through science that we make these discoveries that allowed you to live the 25 years. I was just the conduit of getting those discoveries to you. And so, people at the University of Michigan, we are so fortunate. 100% of donations that are earmarked for research in my laboratory will be controlled by me and my team, and will only go for research. We won't repair things. It doesn't go to other things. It doesn't go to painting.
Is that writing a check to the University of Michigan, or is that, I don't know how this works.
This works very simply. Yes, you write a check to the University of Michigan. You can send it to my office, or you can send it to the development office, the central development office at the University of Michigan, which I could probably find the address somewhere.
Well, we can get that address and we can put it up here.
The notes.
Okay, you can add it into the notes. And but as long as they make it to the University of Michigan, they can put in the memo for Dr. Merajver's research. And it will be deposited in an account that I use for research to pay people's salaries and analyze tumors and find out how to cure people. So that's all that we do with the money. 100%.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that it's that simple that you can do that. I'll be honest.
You can
do that. A lot of times they'll say they're not going to give to organizations because they know of all of the stuff that goes on, right? So it really is that simple to be able to give to somebody like you who is doing amazing.
Well, if they want it, they can just earmark it. They can put 100 note. They can put in the memo of the check.
Yeah.
I want Dr. Merajver's research, and that's like people know. They know to expect. I'm gonna send my holiday cards. I send lots of holiday cards, and I'm hoping that somebody will resonate, because I do depend on it.
Yeah.
I do depend on it. There is no other line of funding. I started many years ago with this. You yourself know this. We talked about that in the clinic many times because you were kind enough to bring it up. But this has been life changing for me. It has allowed me to train not 100, but over 300 scientists that are all over.
Wow.
So that's my big legacy too, that we don't talk about. All the students, postdocs, graduate students, junior faculty, all the people who pass. There is a spreadsheet. Some of the people I don't remember their faces all that much. I hope they're not offended, but it's many years. But it's also many people. And that's the passion that I have, is to really train them, to really teach them how I think, and so that the work continues, the legacy. And that's kind of my relationship with donors, with philanthropists, with anyone, whether they give $5, $50, or $500,000. It's the same relationship. I'm grateful for every dollar I get, and $5 is plenty, whatever you can afford. You're going to be welcome, and I'm going to send you a personal letter thanking you. I don't care if it's $1. You will get my letter. It may not be tomorrow, but you'll get it. And because I'm very grateful. I mean, that's a huge honor, because people who give $1, that's all they have. And if they give it to me, I'm floored by that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why do you think Faslodex has worked for me? Switching gears.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great drug. Everybody knows that. It was one of those kind of through the back door drugs. People were getting a little tired of, okay, we only have 1 or 2 anti-estrogens, and it's a great drug. It's a fabulous drug. It's very difficult for cells to become resistant to it. And so, it just, unfortunately, it's a literal pain in the butt, right? But, and it's,
it's a small price to pay, though. It's a very small price to pay.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but I'm still very sorry about that. I was just thinking about it today in anticipation of talking to you.
Think about Heather's butt.
No, yeah, I'm thinking about it as well. It's like, for a doctor, that's okay.
One shot is way better than 2, if anybody from AstraZeneca is listening.
Yeah. No, but I think it's worked great, because your cells, if there are anywhere trying to do you some harm, they are really inhibited by this drug, and that's all that matters. If we can make all of metastatic breast cancer a disease that you just get a treatment for, and you live your life to the fullest, and you do not worry about that premature suffering that you're always dreading when you're a cancer patient. So if you could just forget about it, not by willpower, but by seeing the success. So what you're doing with your podcast is so important. I sent it to the lung cancer community, because I met with a patient who came from California to have his biopsy here, and he said, we need to hear about patients that live a long time, because in lung cancer, that is huge for us. We don't have as many examples.
And I mean, that was the first thing we looked for too, was examples. And now, it is easier with the internet, but I don't know of people who have lived longer than I have. So that's why it's important to me, to get the word out. I guess maybe I did at one point. But yeah.
It is very important.
You've talked a lot about, you've talked about your legacy in terms of training scientists, but can we talk a little bit more about your legacy of how you interact with patients, and going back to that?
Yeah.
And do you get the opportunity to talk to med students, things like that? I just think if I could, the other thing that's so important is just the way that you empower women to live. you know, and the words that you say, it's like the soundbite of the get the green tea, the we'll start killing cancer on Monday, the we are clobbering the cancer. Those are the things, Dr. Merajver, that just
live forever.
They live forever.
Yeah. Yeah, but you taught me that. You taught me how important it is. You know, I really didn't know. I was always careful with my words, and I was very fortunate that I was brought up by people who were very generous and loving and giving, and you know, they taught me how to speak to people. You know, so many things one doesn't learn in medical school, really. You learn when you're young. And so I was very fortunate that way. But I also listened. And but you taught me how important the words are, because I wanted so desperate that Friday afternoon that we spoke on the phone. I was in the lab speaking to you from the lab phone after your brother talked to me and found me. You know, I was so desperate to think of things to say, to give you hope over the weekend. You know, I don't know if you remember, I told you to go for a walk with your husband and to hold hands and to tell him. And no, I did
left
tell
that
you
part
that.
out.
Oh, left that part out. He didn't want to do that. Okay.
I remember the green tea, fruits and
the
vegetables.
green tea, but that you had to tell him that that there was going to be a journey, that the walk, that walk outside was the journey, but the beginning of the journey. That's what I wanted so desperately, to come up with a way, because the story you told me made me very, your brother told me first, it made me very angry. You know, I was angry inside, and I was trying to find a way of squashing that so that I could talk to you calmly, and that you wouldn't pick up on any anxiety or fear or anything, because I'm not afraid.
You nailed it. Because she still talks about that first conversation to so many people, and it was so impactful that if you did have any of that, it did not come across, and it changed her life.
Thank you.
And I hope that you've had doctors and residents and people I hope you've been able to model that over the years again and again. I know sometimes you have people in there when I'm there on clinic days and stuff like that, but it's just so important, you know, to be real. And kind of going back to what you said about the whole, you know, them telling you not to get too involved because of burnout. You know, I've worked a lot of times in nursing homes, and the best part of the nursing home is getting to know people, and even knowing them as they're getting ready to die, you know, like getting to just letting them be seen and feeling seen and learning from them. So this relationship with patients is so important.
Yeah, it is, and it is the theme of my life, and so I take it very seriously. If I could show you my texts, you would see yesterday night, you know, I'm talking to my husband for the first 5 minutes that I'm talking to him in the whole day, you know, and then I get some texts from the daughter of a patient of mine for many years who passed away. You know, and it was a tremendous relationship, and I was there when she was close to passing, and she asked me to watch out for her kids. And I promised her I would. And so from that point forward, you know, they send me their Christmas cards and I communicate. And then her daughter, she has a daughter and a son, and the daughter is considering taking some medicine to prevent breast cancer, and her doctors are telling her things, so she's checking with me, and it's 9:30, and Melvin's trying to talk to me, and I say, hold off, I have to answer some texts here. And he's like, oh, okay, he knows, you know, it's like he knows, he didn't leave a long time ago, he's gonna stick around. And so he knows.
He's doing his own amazing things.
He's doing his own amazing things, and he's getting texts all the time too. But I, you know, so we exchange a text, and she sent me all these hearts and saying, I can always count on you. And I said, you know, I promised your mom. I mean, it's like, it's a no-brainer, you know, you promise, you promise. And you know, it's gonna be for the rest of my life. So yeah, it is very important. I try to teach it but everybody has to find their path.
Sure.
Everybody has to find, but they have to know that it's okay, that you will survive it. If you get close to people, your life will only be richer.
I agree.
And look what you have done for people. And isn't your life richer for it?
Absolutely. And actually, the more you do it, the better you are able to see the joy in it. Yeah. And understand that death is a part of life sometimes, right? And it's always sadness, but it's not worth avoiding a relationship over oftentimes.
No, but cancer didn't get its way. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like for cancer to not get its way.
You like to kill cancer?
Yeah, so life it should be much longer than cancer had in mind for every one of us. And that's my job. That's where I come in. Absolutely. And that's it. That's the calling. And I'm so honored and grateful for having that opportunity, because not all of medicine is like that. And in spite of all the bureaucracy and all the things I can complain about ad nauseum, at the end of the day, I get to help people in a way that is a gift to me.
At a time where they're desperate.
Yeah.
They're absolutely.
And they are making major decisions that impact them. They impact their children, their partner, everybody. So many people impacted by what happens to one person, right? Yeah. It's a circle. And it's just such a gift to be able to do that. And then in my work, I can't wait to get up and start getting something done, because this is for the sake of not letting cancer get away with it. Mm-hmm. So,
So are more drugs being developed, or are we just using them better?
Yeah, we got some drugs coming up for lung cancer that they're amazing. We are going to get them patented. We have to talk to a patent office at Michigan. A colleague of mine, part of the funding that we distributed to different projects. We're getting new drugs for lung cancer, completely new.
And when you talk about that, I think it's important to know that cancers work together, right? Like again, breast cancer benefits from lung cancer. All of the research can benefit from each other.
All of the research. In fact, I was just meeting with the CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian, who's a wonderful person, and Delta Airlines has contributed to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation to fund my work. And I was talking to Ed, and I was telling him, I said, all the money that we got from Delta Airlines through BCRF has helped the research in breast cancer, but now I'm using all of that for lung cancer. And, he got emotional. He said, you are? Because I have no idea. My dad was never a smoker, and he died as a relatively young man of lung cancer. And so, all of a sudden, this guy is the CEO of the largest airline in the world who moves 300 million people. And here he was practically in tears talking to little me, thinking, oh my God, my company contributed to, curing the cancer that killed my dad. And, of course, when his dad had lung cancer, like when my dad had lung cancer, it was practically nothing. I mean, it's just you watched people just, give in. But, but this has totally changed. And hopefully we're going to change it using a lot of the knowledge. The rising tide of science lifts everything.
That's funny. I've been thinking about the rising tide lately, about that, right? Of how it lifts many boats. So
yeah,
it's interesting. Do you have any other questions?
I do. I have one more, but
it's on your list?
Really on an up note. It's let me make sure I read it right. What frustrates you the most, either in oncology or in science or at the University of Michigan?
Well,
I'm curious. What are the roadblocks? What are the frustrations? And this could just be a gene.
No, the frustrations are how slow the discoveries reach the patients. Okay. In my mind's eye, I see things happening at a given rate, but there are lots of obstacles. Not all of them just, you don't have enough money. That is often an obstacle, money. But that's nothing to get mad about. That's an obstacle always in life, right?
Yeah.
Everything costs some money, and
Right.
so in research costs a lot of money. But there are other obstacles. Not everyone is so fervently, dedicated to rushing the treatments through. So that is the frustration. The frustration is to not see the discoveries reaching patients fast enough.
Okay.
And that's the biggest one for me.
Okay.
That's not a Michigan thing. It's in fact in Michigan, I think we've improved a lot. But I fight for it. You know how I like it. I like it perfect. And until it's perfect, and it'll never be perfect, but until it's perfect, I will say that it can be better. And I love the University of Michigan, but it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And I want it to be perfect. So
and just to add to that a little bit, I remember thinking, I just need to keep going. I need to be stable long enough for them to keep discovering the next thing, right? So rather than view that as something negative necessarily, I just had to have faith in the fact that it is happening, and I'm going to do my whatever I can, right, to be here for it.
To be here for it, and you are.
Yeah. And you still have things in your back pocket.
Absolutely. Every day there are new approvals.
Yeah.
For the type of cancer you had or have. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what is going on, and
we don't care as long as you're stable, huh?
Yeah, and I'm not talking to it.
That's right. We've told it to be quiet. So.
Yeah, we told it to be quiet. We're not having conversations at this time. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Merajver,
yeah.
What do you want to? Do you have anything you want to say?
No, just thank you for inviting me to celebrate 25 years. I do know it's 25 years. I was joking before, and I have cherished every time I see you. You are my family, and I'm not embarrassed or sad or ashamed to say that. I hope you don't mind. I know you have wonderful family, and you don't need another meddling relative that I consider myself.
No, we do.
We absolutely are so
part of your family.
Happy to have more than just a patient relationship with you. So
it made a big difference.
Yeah, it still makes a big difference.
Yes.
And I will always be at your service.
We appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
25 years, and we will put some notes in the show, and we'll get some links up there so people can give $1 or $100 or $1,000.
By the way, that's not why Dr. Merajver came on this program by any means.
No.
We just want the money to keep coming.
Yeah,
that's all.
No. I invited you to come, and I know what an inspiration. Some of our highest podcasts have been the ones that we've done together, and it's just important.
People want to hear you.
People need hope right now.
Yes,
and always right when it comes.
And that's what I want to leave you with. There is so much hope, especially in breast cancer, but in all cancers, there's so much hope. Don't give up hope. And remember, I always say, don't give one day up to cancer that it doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
So fight for every day.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay well.